I'm Kyle Gadraj, and let's queer up trans rights. Federal judge blocks DOJ bid for trans youth patient records in Rhode Island. A federal judge has blocked the Trump administration from obtaining confidential medical records of transgender youth treated at a Rhode Island hospital. This is another legal setback to the Department of Justice's campaign targeting gender-affirming care providers. On Wednesday, U.S. District Judge Mary McElroy ruled against the DOJ's subpoena request, criticizing the department's conduct in the case, writing, quote, "The administration has publicly characterized gender-affirming care for minors as abuse, directed the Department of Justice to bring its practice to an end, and celebrated when hospitals curtail such programs as a result of this subpoena campaign," end quote. The subpoena sought highly sensitive patient information, including birth dates, social security numbers, addresses, intake forms, medical assessments, and records tied to minors who received gender-affirming care during the past 5 years. The DOJ argued that the records were needed to investigate possible healthcare fraud and off-label prescribing of medications such as puberty blockers. But Judge McElroy rejected those claims, pointing to the administration's broader public criticism of gender-affirming care for transgender youth. The ruling comes as more than 20 hospitals and healthcare providers nationwide reportedly face similar federal demands for patient records. Attorney Kevin Love Hubbard of the Lawyers Committee of Rhode Island said, quote, "The government cannot use its subpoena power to intimidate families out of seeking lawful medical care," end quote. This is extremely scary because it shows how this administration will go to the depths of the earth to be able to uncover those who are seeking gender-affirming care or transgender services. You know, there's a thing called the Patient's Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. You know, there's things that's called HIPAA. HIPAA, yeah. You know, that you should be able to speak to your provider confidentially and get whatever you want. You know, whether that's gender-affirming care or whether it's, you know, medications or whatever it is. You know, so I really hope that these judges and these lawyers come forward and use what we have, which is the law that we have of this land, against this administration to stop this blatant attack on the trans community.
You know, they keep screaming, protect the children, while trying to rip healthcare away from trans children and terrorize their family. John, correct me. Is this like the third state at this point now that has lost this battle? Or basically had a setback, excuse me.
Well, they won. Mm-hmm. Rhode Island, the patients in Rhode Island won. But yeah, last week we talked about New York and one of its hospitals that had to shut down its trans care, but is still refusing the subpoenas. And then we've talked about Idaho, Oklahoma, Texas, notoriously. They're all coming after kids. And the fact that the judge rightfully sided with trans kids in this case is honestly besides the point at this point. It is, this is all about fear. Because, you know, fear by doctors to see patients and talk about it, fear by trans parents of trans kids who just want to protect their kids and they don't want to be a test case. Nobody's out there saying, oh, sign my kid up for this because their kid's already going through enough. So it's fear. And unfortunately, on the fear front, the Trump administration is winning.
Yeah, even providers. You know, providers are also afraid of losing their licenses, etc.
Yep.
It's fear all around. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.